Far from the Himalayas, where our stories began, we set out on a road that promised no less spirit than home. We are from Bhutan, a small kingdom cradled by mountains, where prayer flags catch the wind and rivers carry songs of devotion. But in Australia, far from those valleys, life often means work, responsibility, and distance. Sometimes the days feel heavy, and the heart longs for a pause. And so, 9 of us gathered, bound by friendship, by laughter, and by the need to breathe. We packed our bags, we loaded our cars, we turned south, chasing the horizon. This was no ordinary holiday. This was a journey of mountains and oceans, of silence and fury. This was a road to spirit. The city faded behind us. Perth, glass towers, traffic, the rhythm of daily life, grew smaller in the mirrors. Ahead stretched farmland, endless ribbons of road disappearing into the horizon. Hours, quiet towns, petrol stations, fields dotted with sheep and cattle, skies so wide they seemed to have no edge, and then granite domes appeared, shaped by time and weather, standing like ancient guardians. We climbed Castle Rock. The trail was steep, each step heavy. Steel ladders clung to the granite, pulling us higher, until we stood at the granite skywalk. The world unfolded. Forests rolled into the distance. The horizon curved into infinity. Wind roared across the rock, and yet there was peace. It felt like standing between two worlds, suspended between earth and sky. By evening, we reached Albany's wind farm. 18 turbines rose above the southern ocean, blades turning slowly, endlessly, capturing the breath of the earth itself. The sun sank. The ocean roared below us. The turbines spun silently above. It was a meeting of forces: fire of the sun, water of the ocean, air in motion, and stone beneath our feet. In Bhutan, we raise prayer flags, believing the wind will carry our prayers. Here, it felt the same. The wind carried not just power, but spirit. That night, we reached our Airbnb. 9 friends under one roof. We cooked, we laughed, we prepared for the days ahead. Before dawn, we woke again. Bluff Knoll awaited us, the highest peak of southern Western Australia. At 2 in the morning, flashlights cut the dark. Our breath fogged in the cold air. Each step pressed against gravity. and then light. First a faint glow, then gold spilling across the horizon. At the summit, clouds rolled like oceans beneath our feet. The Sterling Ranges stretched in shadow and flame. The struggle melted away. We stood in silence, warmed by the sun. In Bhutan, mountains are sacred. Here, half a world away, Bluff Knoll felt like a temple. Later, we stood at the gap. The Southern Ocean hurled itself into granite cliffs, waves exploding in thunderous rage. Spray shot high into the air. The sound shook our bones. Beside it, the natural bridge arched into the sea, carved by centuries of waves. Beauty here was not gentle. It was violent. It was raw, and it demanded respect. By afternoon, we walked through Albany's old whaling station. Rusting machines, preserved ships, skeletons of giants. Once a place of killing, now a museum of memory. It reminded us that humanity, like the tide, can change its course. Westward, the road carried us, into the Valley of the Giants. Kari and tingle trees rose like pillars, their crowns lost in the sky. Some had stood for over 4 centuries. We stepped onto the treetop walk, 40 meters above the earth. Bridges swayed under our feet. The air was still, but alive. It was humbling. We felt small, not in weakness, but in reverence. In Bhutan, trees are guardians of spirit. Here, among these giants, that truth returned to us. Our final day began underground. Lake Cave awaited us. We descended steep steps into shadow. The air cooled, the silence deepened, and then a chamber opened before us. Limestone walls, ancient formations, and a mirror-like lake. From the ceiling hung a stalactite, reflected perfectly in the still water below. It seemed to float, suspended between 2 worlds, above and below, real and reflected. Time here was different. Every drop of water shaping stone, every century carving beauty. It was patience, made visible. From darkness, we returned to light. Busselton Jetty, almost 2 kilometers stretching into turquoise water, the longest wooden jetty in the southern hemisphere. We boarded the little red train, laughter carried in the wind. The bay sparkled around us. At the far end, ocean and sky fused into one horizon. It felt like standing at the edge of the world, and somehow, like the center of it. In 4 days, we crossed mountains, oceans, forests, caves, and skies. Yet the journey was not measured in kilometers, but in moments. Bluff Knoll taught us patience and reward, the gap, humility before power, the giants, resilience and time. Lake Cave, the beauty of silence. And Busselton Jetty, the truth that journeys are bridges, connecting people, places, and spirit. We are Bhutanese, far from home. Yet in the landscapes of Australia, we found echoes of our own. This was not just travel, this was not just escape, this was a road to spirit.